Hey, and can you believe it? It's been 30 years since the release of Doom on PC in 1993. The day that this is being uploaded, it's been 30 years since the release of that original Doom game and the 3 episodes that came with it, Knee Deep in the Dead, The Shores of Hell, and Inferno. And of course, Doom lives on to this day because Doom is eternal. But I figured I wanted to celebrate in my own way, and what better way to play the original Doom than on the version that has 3.0 right in the title, the 3DO version of Doom, if you scratch out that D in the middle. Yeah, that's the lame link we're going with. But I just want to use this video to talk about my experiences with Doom, my love for the franchise, and how this original Doom game really kind of has always been a cornerstone in my gaming life. And obviously I'd love to hear your experiences. Where did you start playing Doom? I want to hear about what you thought of this when you first played it. What year did you play it? What console did you play it on? For me, it all started with the shareware version in DOS. Because when we got our first family PC, and I say we, it was actually my older brother and older sister who got a computer for Christmas. And I remember how big a deal that was back in the day. They had Doom on it, and we were allowed to play it. Me and my younger brother, who were like 4 and 5 at the time, we just fell in love with this game, and we played it over and over and over. And yeah, I know, there were only 9 levels, but the thing is, Knee Deep in the Dead was so good. The levels were so captivating and so fun to play. We had speedrunning challenges, we had leaderboards, it was crazy. It's funny because I didn't actually play the rest of the first Doom game until 1995-6 I think it was, because in the UK we used to have a range of video games called Replay, and that was old games that were kind of re-released, and they came in these big yellow boxes with like the Replay logo on them. And I remember that my mum bought it after school, and she brought it and put it in the car, and we saw it, and me and my brother were just like so excited to see it, and we were like, oh my god, we're finally going to get to play these episodes. Now for context, by this time, we had played Doom 2 because my dad acquired a copy from a friend at work. Yeah, and it's funny because that version of Doom 2 sticks in my mind because like it had some corruptions which were kind of funny looking back, but we'll talk about that in another video. But I remember we rushed home, and what my dad had done, he'd actually installed it already on the PC, so we jumped in, and I remember the shock when we loaded up Ultimate Doom on the PC and there was a 4th episode. It was Thy Flesh Consumed, and I mean that was kind of it really. Like, The Shores of Hell was actually my favourite episode for quite a while because I was a kid, and Inferno, and then Thy Flesh Consumed, which kicked my ass. The funny thing with Thy Flesh Consumed, I actually played that as a separate WAD, because back in the day it ended up on one of my dad's WAD floppy disks, because my dad used to bring home floppy disks from work of Doom WADs that he'd downloaded, and he'd list them all on like a piece of paper and put it on the wall next to the PC so you knew what DOS prompts to put in. And I remember that when I played Thy Flesh Consumed for the first time in Ultimate Doom, it was the same starting level that I'd played on another WAD, and I was like, oh, I've already played this. Oh, that's really funny. So my memories of Thy Flesh Consumed are actually with the brown sky, which is, I know, very odd and very weird, but that's just kind of how it was back in the day. Sometimes you would find like illegitimate copies of these WADs floating around, and you play them and not even realise. But yeah, going back to Doom 1, I think that it's a game that I just find myself constantly coming back to, and I'm always drawn to just how much fun it is. Even on other consoles, like I just find playing like even this 3DO version here, and you'll notice here the frame rate has absolutely taken a dive here as we've gone outside because there's just so much going on here. I just think that it's a game that's always captivated me. Even the bad Doom levels I still have fun with. And it's funny because even as I've grown older, like as we got rid of that PC, we didn't have a PC in the house for a while. I remember I specifically bought a Game Boy Advance SP so I could play Doom and Doom 2 on the go. I specifically remember when I bought the console, it came bundled with Mario Golf, I think, and I actually asked if I could have the second game be Doom, even though it wasn't part of the package, and the guy behind the counter was like, oh sure, we can do that for you if you want. So I remember he put the original Doom on Game Boy in the thing, even though it wasn't in the bundle, and I just played the heck out of that version. Like, I didn't even think it was a bad version. Like, the Game Boy Advance version is very crispy and it gets looked down on, but being able to play Doom when at break in school was just like a game changer for me. Like, and I didn't care. Like, there was other games on the Game Boy Advance, I was not playing those. It was just always Doom. And I remember when the original Xbox version of Doom 3 came out, everyone was hyped about that. And then I found out that you could get the original Doom if you bought the collector's edition. So the day that Doom 3 came out on original Xbox in the UK, I went to Game Station, yes, I'm that old, and I specifically bought the metal case version of Doom 3 so I could play the original Doom on the original Xbox. And it's kind of funny looking back, because I don't think I spent more than an hour or two playing the original Doom 3 on Xbox. I think that, like, pretty much every time I turned on that game, it was so I could go into the extras menu and play Doom 1 and Doom 2. And because that came with multiplayer, I was able to have death matches with my brother, and that's how I introduced Doom to my nephew at the time. He was about 5 or 6, and we'd play classic Doom in multiplayer and co-op and all that stuff on the Xbox, and he loved it. He used to call it the fun Doom, because he used to say Doom 3 was really scary, and I didn't blame him, because it was a very scary game back in the day. But yeah, those are my memories of, like, Doom on the original Xbox, and that version, even though a lot of people don't talk about it, is very special to me, because that came out, you know, at a time when I couldn't access it on PC. We're not picking up that chainsaw, by the way. Changing weapons in this version of Doom is a bit of an arse, so we're just not going to be picking up the chainsaw if that can be helped at all. You'll notice the frame rate in this is not particularly great. Like, even as we're kind of snaking around this maze, the frame rate's kind of having a tough time staying stable, and, you know, oof, definitely. But even the bad versions of Doom like this, I really still find enjoyment in. The core game of Doom is just so much fun to me, and it just evokes, like, so many great memories and nostalgia that I just enjoy it. But that's my personal journey with Doom over the years. I haven't always been able to play it on PC. I've sometimes had to play it on other consoles, and even on the other consoles, even when the versions weren't that particularly fun, still get enjoyment out of it. And I think that just kind of highlights how special this game is in terms of what it manages to capture. I can hear a zombie man, by the way, wandering around, and I am sort of waiting for him to emerge and show me where he is. Oh, there he is. I could hear him. I knew there was someone wandering around. But in my opinion, Knee Deep in the Dead being Shareware, like, was just perfection, because in my opinion, that's the best episode that Doom has. Like, even when you take in some of the Doom 2 levels, like, a lot of the Knee Deep in the Dead levels just are so tightly designed and so well thought out, and they just show off the game in, like, the best way imaginable. I think as well, like, the roster of enemies in Doom is pretty iconic, because they don't all have the same silhouettes. I think that's, like, a big part of the success to why so many of these monsters are iconic, because you've got your zombie man and shotgunners who, yeah, okay, they're very similar, but they kind of have very different color palettes going on. And then you've got the imp, who's just, he's got this different outline. It looks kind of otherworldly. Just look at it there. He doesn't look friendly at all. He doesn't look like he's going to be happy to see you. I kind of love there as well, as we were exiting that level, like, the frame rate just died again at the end. And it's very interesting, this version of Doom, because if you sort of look into the corners, or you sort of go into very small spaces, the game's frame rate does try to pick itself up, so it does try to be a bit better than it is. As we open this door here, you can see that once again, like, there's just a lot of complex geometry here for the 3DO to handle, and it does not enjoy any of this. I always used to find this level very difficult as a kid. So even when you bring all the weapons through from the previous levels, you end up kind of feeling like you're being ambushed at the start here, and sometimes like I just die, and there's more than one occasion where I've ended up in that toxic pit out of panic. Yes. And something as well that I've always really loved about Doom is the fact that there's such a strong community around it. 30 years later, you've got Doom tubers who are making content every day with all of the different WODs, and there's so many WODs. There's like so many different types of WODs as well. It's not just a case of people are making new levels for this. People are making whole new like entire campaigns, 32 levels and higher, and not even to this quality. Like, they're actually making like things that I imagine the original developers had no idea could be possible with like the variations of the Doom engine. What's really cool as well is that you're not limited in how you get to experience Doom. So if you want to play through the Unity port, which is the official port these days, that's fine. That's the one that's on consoles. There's some WODs on there as well, free content, which is really great. And even recently they've been updating it with new WODs, which I still find really cool, that like some people in the community have had their work officially recognized and put into a retail Doom release, which Nintendo never could. Like, they could never reach that level of fan appreciation because they would probably DMCA all this stuff. Can you imagine if like there was a Nintendo of the reigns of Doom? This franchise would be in such a different position right now. But I just kind of love the community around Doom as well. There's so many different ways you can experience Doom, play Doom. You can challenge yourself with so many different ways to play the game. You can compare your speed with people. And then there's like the YouTube community, where there's so many great content creators who are in the Doom space, who are just doing their own thing, and it's great to see so much love for old Doom content, for new Doom content. And it's one of the reasons why I even started this channel in the first place. I think the fact that it has such a massive community around it, and I think the fact that there's just so much stuff being done with Doom these days, speaks to just how amazing this game was. There's very few games, in my opinion, that have that level of community around it, and it's been 30 years. So this game is still achieving all that, when a lot of modern games simply cannot achieve the same thing. So what does that say about how strong the Doom experience is? Now, speaking of strong experiences, we're about to see what happens when, you know, I can't change from the rocket launcher here, so I'm just going to use this on all these enemies here. I kind of like how when I shoot the rocket in this version of Doom, it sort of slowly makes its way across the room. So it's not going at full speed, it's kind of going at like half speed, which is pretty funny to see. So we're going to head into where the blue key is here, and you can see that the frame rate again is not having the funnest of times. Mercifully, like if you played on a PC back in the day, you could drop the quality level, but in this version all you can do is bring that bordered in if you really want to experience higher frame rates. So you can actually achieve better frame rates, but you have to lower that grid around the game in, so you end up kind of looking at what is a postage stamp version of this game, which is pretty fun. I would love to see down the line them officially kind of acknowledge some of these console ports with add-ons in the official release on the consoles and the PC. Kind of like how Quake and Quake 64, you can play that now in Quake as an add-on, even though it's not technically Quake 64, it just looks like Quake 64. I would really like to see that kind of treatment for the console ports of Ultimate Doom at some point, just because I think that, in particular with Ultimate Doom, a lot of the console ports kind of exist, and a lot of people don't really understand like how different some of them are. Like the PlayStation version of Doom, for example, is a completely different beast in my eyes. It's got a different atmosphere, it's got different sounds, and I just think that with the cold lighting and all that, it's a very different way of interpreting Doom. And I think it'd be really cool if modern gamers could experience that without the jank of the PS1 controller. in an official way. I know there's unofficial ways to play it, and I know people are going to say in the comments you can play it this way or that way, but I mean officially. I do not recommend playing the 3DO version of this game, by the way. Thank goodness this was not the first version of Doom. Can you imagine if this had been the first way people got to experience Doom? It's kind of crazy that this came out way, way, way after the release of the PC version, and it's infinitely worse. But again, these console versions were very important back in the day, because this is how a lot of people got to experience Doom, because PCs weren't super common back in the day, as household PCs in particular were not like super normal at that point. So a lot of people's first experiences with Doom in the 90s will have been through these various different ports, and I think they play a big part in the history of Doom that sometimes gets overlooked, I think, by people who haven't actually experienced them. So I don't want to pick up that chainsaw, because if we pick up the chainsaw, you're just going to be listening to that revving for the rest of the level. Oof, oof, oh my goodness. So yeah, the game does not like this room. Like, in case you can't tell, Doom Guy's kind of moving at half pace, and also there's a bit of input latency here, because I think the game's kind of struggling with all these enemies and the cliff and the items and the different heights of all the things in this room. But yeah, honestly, this has been really fun, and I hope people have enjoyed hearing me talk about my Doom journey and my experiences with Doom over the years, and how those have kind of come to colour my opinion on this game, because this for me is probably my favourite game of all time, and the fact that it's turned 30 years old is a massive milestone in my opinion, and there's going to be many, many, many more years of Doom to come for me, I hope. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed listening to me recount these tales of Doom from over the years, and do let me know what your experiences of Doom are. Where did you start playing? What versions do you enjoy? And yeah, are we still going to be dooming 30 years from now? The answer is yes. I'm going to be rocking Doom as a no AP, trust me. But thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.